Alright, what's up, familia? Welcome inside the Big Rig. Hope you guys are doing good. Keep in between the lines. Got your load secure. Alright, let's get into a scary trucker story.
My name is Kevin. I've been a trucker for varying companies for the better part of 15 years now. Things have become pretty routine at this point. Pick up the goods and materials, verify them for accuracy, and deliver them as instructed. We're not paid by the hour, so efficiency is the most important thing in this line of work. For someone like me, who's been doing this forever, I like to think I can outwork all these young guns that are snapping these jobs up. This isn't always great, though. Usually I push myself to the absolute limit when it comes to functioning on barely any sleep. 4 years ago, I was working for a warehouse based in North Dakota. For anyone who doesn't know, North Dakota is one of the flattest states, which makes trucking a little easier. This also meant that skipping out on a few hours of sleep could mean the difference between employment and getting the sack. It was a chilly Tuesday morning in May. The beginning of the week meant that more loads needed to be shipped, which meant more work for me. I wanted to knock it all out in one shot, so I traced my route into Montana accordingly, planning on not stopping even once to sleep. I hit the road a few hours after lunch, expecting to reach my destination very early the next morning. I pushed the semi as much as possible, doing maybe a couple over the speed limit. It was...
Okay, so let me just go ahead and say this of something that he was saying, right? Like, it's really flat. It makes trucking very easy. Look, if you're not well rested, that stuff can really put you to sleep. When there's a lot of action going on, a lot of turns, a lot of curves, a lot of uphills, downhills, shifting gears and all that stuff. I mean, a lot of trucks are starting to become automatic, but when there's a lot of stuff going on, that stuff can keep you awake, right? It can be a little bit of a hassle, but that stuff keeps you going. It keeps you awake. When it's just flat, open land and not a lot of traffic, you gotta be well rested, homie. You gotta be well rested. You just, you start drifting off, the vibration of the truck and everything, man. It just starts making you get a little sleepy.
Getting late. I remember rubbing the crust from my eyelids as the clock ticked past midnight. I was having trouble keeping my eyes open, but I only had about an hour left in this drive, so I gritted my teeth and kept going. My buddy Tristan, who was also a trucker, introduced me to smelling salts when I first started out.
Orale.
If you don't know, smelling salts are basically some kind of crystals in a little bottle. One sniff and you're wide awake. You had to be careful though. Too many back-to-back uses could be dangerous. Or at least that's what Tristan told me. They burn your nose a little bit, but whenever I needed a boost, I'd reach for the smelling salts first. This was one of those times. I took a big whiff and shot my head back, my reflexes taking over. I felt the adrenaline course through my body. I hoped the feeling would last the rest of the drive. A half hour shot by, and I was really struggling. I felt myself start to doze off, and the blare of my truck drifting into the shoulder jolted me awake. This was getting dangerous, I thought. I had to pull off. I was all alone on the highway, but there was nowhere to pull off. There was just woods on either side of me. I slowed the truck down, searching desperately for somewhere to pull over. At this low speed, my headlights pierced through the darkness, and I was able to see a lot more. As I looked around, I saw something that confused me. There was a purple dress lying in the middle of the road. What the hell? I thought, rubbing my eyes. Was I hallucinating? I blinked like 6 times just to make sure I wasn't going crazy. It was real. I approached the dress with my truck and stared at it as I rolled by. In hindsight, this should have been more of a red flag, but I think I was just too exhausted to process what was going on. About 200 or so yards away, I passed a pair of shoes. Now I was starting to freak out.
Damn.
What the hell was going on? I passed the shoes, praying to God there would be a place to pull off soon. My old man, David, was a super religious guy, so I clutched his old cross and hoped he would come through for me. A little further up the road, I saw a bunch more random clothing, some of which looked like little kids' clothing. This time I stopped the truck. The panic started to set in. Something was very, very wrong. I sat in the driver's seat with the truck at a standstill. I was expecting something to happen, but it never did. So I did what my instincts told me to do. I stepped out of the truck and went to inspect the clothing.
What the
I
heck?
still remember the feeling of the chilly morning air piercing my skin, which definitely helped my exhaustion. I approached the pile as cautiously as I could. It was indeed kids' clothing. It looked like there were both boy and girl pieces of clothing in the pile. I looked around into the woods, but I couldn't see much of anything in the darkness. I had my head on a swivel, worried that this was some kind of trap. I decided it was not my business to figure out what was going on.
Exactly.
So I made my way back to my truck. Just then, I heard a crunch from the left. I
Oh,
whipped around, trying to see what was there. I stood there, waiting to hear another sound. After about 30 seconds, there was another crunch, but this time from the opposite side of the road. My
damn.
survival instincts kicked in, and I sprinted towards the truck. I jumped into the front seat, but just before I slammed the door, I heard a child's scream ring out.
Oh, damn,
I froze,
dog.
my heart bursting out of my chest. I was caught at a crossroads. I wasn't going to fight some random people in the pitch black woods, but I couldn't just abandon some helpless kids either. Before I could make a decision, another almost identical child's scream rang out. Without
Damn.
thinking, I turned the truck on and pointed its nose toward the spot in the woods where I heard the noise. My headlights lit up about 30 yards into the woods. There were 3 or 4 people, one of whom was holding a massive speaker. They ducked behind a couple trees as my truck lit them up, but I had exposed them for just enough time to make out what they were doing. They hid from the light before I could really make out any distinctive features, but I swear on my old man David's grave, they were holding up a speaker, trying to lure me into the woods with the fake kids screaming. I was just in shock. I just sat there, staring at the trees those people had just hid behind. I reached for my phone to call the police, but before I finished dialing, I heard a thump from the body of the truck. Someone had thrown something from the other direction. I was done. I turned back to face the road and slammed on the gas. As I sped off, I could make out a person on the other side of the road. He shouted something I couldn't understand before launching something at the truck that cracked the glass of my passenger side window. I drove the final hour in silence. I was too scared to process what had just happened, but there was no way in hell I was stopping to sleep in those woods. I completed my delivery and then knocked out. I must have slept for 10 hours straight. When I woke up, the first thing I did was call the police. They told me they'd investigate those woods and give me any updates. I then thought about the whole thing and how stupid I was to get out of my truck. I should have just minded my own business. The thought of some kids being kidnapped or worse was just too much for me to ignore. To this day, I still have no idea what those people were trying to do. I don't know why they didn't just rush me when they had the chance, or what they were planning to do to me if I ran out in the woods after the kids screaming. In all my years of being a trucker, nothing has ever come close to being as strange or downright terrifying as this experience.
Damn. Yeah, Kevin. Getting out of your truck, Holmes. I say it all the time, man. Stop getting out of your truck. But, wow, dog. You know, that actually kind of freaked me out right here driving, man. Just hearing the kids scream, the sound of it. I'm like, oh, damn, like, what do you do there, you know? Yeah, I mean, I get it, dog. You know, some kids could be in trouble, and you know, you hear a lot of these kidnapping situations, and oh man, they found a kidnapped kid that was killed in the woods, raped and murdered, and it's like, wow, you were there. You know, maybe you could have done something. So I get him, dog. I understand, but man, you really gotta be aware of your surroundings, dog. You're in the woods. It's pitch black. It's, you know, you don't know what can be happening, dog. It's a tough situation, Holmes, but I will say this, though. I will say this, you know, if you get off your truck, just take a little glance, and you know, after that, man, just get back in the truck and just go on, dog. There's really no need for you to investigate. And when you're out there, I've said it before, you know, there's times where you just got to pull over and take a nap or go to sleep And sometimes you're out in the middle of nowhere, dog, and it's that already within itself, without getting out of the truck, that already within itself is already a risky situation. I've been in that situation. You know, you guys have heard my scary trucker story. I don't know, maybe I'll tell it again one day, but yeah, dog, you don't always get to a nice, safe area where you could pull off and go to sleep, man. So I definitely understand what he's talking about. And man, I'm sure that woke him up. I stop, you know, if I'm trucking a pretty long haul, you know, if I'm, you know, long hauling there or something, I stop every hour, or at the most every 100 miles, stop, get off, stretch the legs, walk around the truck once or twice, just to keep the juices flowing and to keep myself, you know, keep myself awake, man. Because yeah, you know, when it's super flat and there's nothing going on, I mean, dog, you need to be well rested, or else you could be you could start dozing off. But yeah, dog, what a trippy situation. And you know, shady characters out in the middle of nowhere, you got no idea what their intentions are, dog. They could be into certain rituals where they sacrifice human beings or whatever, homie, you know what I mean? So it's not always they're just after what you're hauling. It's not always just they're looking to rob you. You don't know what they're after, dog. So damn, crazy situation. As always, familia, live your life like you're on the road. Be aware of your surroundings and always keep a safe distance. Blood makes you related, but loyalty makes family. Until next time, this is Ed the Total Trucker. Over and out.